You've just been sentenced to death twice. Don't you have anything to say? Anything to say at all?
In the summer of 1984, a terrifying crime wave swept across the Midwest. A deadly duo, Alton Coleman and Debra Brown, embarked on a chilling killing spree that spanned 6 states. These weren't just ordinary criminals. They were a pair of ruthless serial killers whose names would forever be etched in the annals of America's most horrifying crimes. In just 2 short months, they committed an astonishing 8 murders, 7 rapes, and 3 kidnappings. As if that wasn't terrifying enough, they also carried out a series of armed robberies. Their victims were as diverse as they were numerous, including many young African-American girls, a chilling testament to their indiscriminate and ruthless nature. Coleman and Brown's horrifying crime spree wasn't just a series of isolated incidents. It was a reign of terror that swept through the heartland, leaving communities in fear and law enforcement in a desperate race against time. Their reign of terror lasted for 2 months, leaving communities in fear and law enforcement in a desperate race against time. Alton Coleman and Debra Brown were an unlikely pair, each with a distinct background and upbringing that somehow led them down a dark path. Born in 1955, Alton Coleman was the 3rd of 5 siblings, hailing from Waukegan, Illinois. His mother, a prostitute juggling 3 jobs, once threw him in a garbage can during his infancy, an act of rejection that marked the beginning of a troubled life. His grandmother, living in the same household, came to his rescue. However, his upbringing was marked by rejection, drugs, prostitution, and sexual abuse, painting a grim picture of his early life. On the other hand, Debra Brown, born 7 years later in the same town, had a different story. She was one of 11 siblings, and unlike Coleman, her background was stable with no prior criminal record. When she first crossed paths with Alton in 1983, she was engaged to another man. However, the course of her life took a sharp turn when she decided to leave her fiancé and family, moving in with Coleman to provide home care for his ailing grandmother. The 2 individuals, despite their contrasting backgrounds, found a common ground. Coleman with his troubled past, and Brown with her seemingly normal life, formed a bond that would soon spiral into a terrifying partnership. They were a study in contrasts, a man who had known nothing but hardship, and a woman who had known stability. Yet they were drawn to each other in a way that would shock the nation. Their paths crossed in 1983, and a year later, they would become one of the most notorious killer couples in American history. In the summer of 1984, their dark journey began, a journey that would span across 6 states, leaving a trail of horror and devastation in its wake. The unlikely pair, bound by a shared darkness, embarked on a killing spree that would grip the nation in fear and forever etch their names in the annals of crime. By 1984, Coleman and Brown had plunged into a life of crime, their victims unsuspecting and helpless. The year was a turning point, a descent into a dark abyss from which there would be no return. A cruel dance of death had begun, its rhythm dictated by Alton Coleman and Debra Brown. Their first victim was 9-year-old Vernita Wheat, a sweet, innocent child who should have been protected. She instead met a grim fate, kidnapped, violated, and ultimately silenced forever. The duo then crossed state lines, taking the life of another innocent soul, 7-year-old Tamika Turks. Her final moments were filled with terror, the innocence of childhood shattered under the monstrous acts of Coleman and Brown. Their crimes didn't stop at children. They broadened their grim portfolio to include adults too. Donna Williams, a young woman of 25, became their next victim. Her life brutally ended, leaving a gaping hole in the lives of those who loved her. The duo's horrifying journey continued, their ruthless actions leaving a trail of broken families and communities. Virginia Temple and her 9-year-old daughter Rachelle were next. The mother and daughter duo were living their ordinary lives, unaware that they were about to be drawn into this horrifying saga. Their home was invaded, their lives stolen, and their loved ones left in unimaginable pain. The spree didn't stop there. Tonnie Storey, just 15, and Marlene Walters, 44, also fell prey to this deadly duo. Their lives abruptly ended, their futures stolen. A 77-year-old man, whose name is lost in the annals of history, also became a part of this gruesome tale. Each victim was a reminder of the ruthless brutality of Coleman and Brown. Their spree was marked by a chilling lack of remorse, a terrifying enjoyment of power, and a horrifying disregard for human life. As the number of victims grew, so did the urgency to capture these ruthless killers. Coleman and Brown's crimes escalated in brutality, their targets spanning across states, leaving a trail of horror in their wake.
Harry and Marlene Walters, who are in their 40s, owned this camper for some time. They were trying to sell it. According to neighbors, sometime early this afternoon, a black man and woman had rode up to the house on bicycles. They acted like they wanted to buy the camper. Then, according to neighbors, Mr. Walters drove one or both of the suspects to a bank, possibly to withdraw money. They came back. The suspects then tied up the couple in the basement. Mrs. Walters was murdered, her husband beaten unconscious. The couple was found by their daughter, one of their 3 children. She then ran across the street to a close friend for help.
All I know is that they were tied up in the basement, and that she said she couldn't find the pulse of her mother's, and that her dad's was very weak. And a few minutes later, they carried the husband out on the stretcher, and they were running with him. And when I took one look at my good friend, I just went to pieces.
The suspects escaped in the family car. When police arrived, they found the house ransacked. They're not sure yet what, if anything, had been stolen, and the murder weapon has not yet been determined.
Police say this is one of the safest and quietest neighborhoods in Norwood. It's made up mostly of middle-income families. Neighbors and close friends of the Walters are stunned. They can't believe that something like this could happen here.
They were just what you would consider very nice people. I don't think they really had any enemies that I know of.
They're a very close-knit family. We're all very close. And I can't see anything like this happening. It just doesn't seem like it. Around here especially.
I don't know what else to say about them other than I really can't believe it, and that I really loved them.
Norwood police were at work early this morning, sealing off the home of Harry and Marlene Walters of 4118 Floral Avenue. Inside the home, officials from the Hamilton County Coroner's Office began looking for what they call trace evidence. Fingerprints, footprints, things that might be missing from the home. Anything that might connect suspect Alton Coleman to the brutal murder of Marlene Walters and the attack on her husband, Harry. Here at the Norwood Police Department, detectives met with FBI officials who came into Cincinnati just last night. It didn't take them long to determine that Alton Coleman might be the man they were looking for. As a matter of fact, he was their only suspect. What they do say is that Coleman is a survivor, a man who uses people to get what he wants.
He has a way of getting next to people. He can talk his way into the home. He meets people on the street and can discuss religion. He can discuss politics. He's very forward, very well-spoken, very calm, and very deadly.
Authorities believe what Coleman wanted and needed was a getaway car. Perhaps it wasn't a coincidence when police arrived at the scene of the murder yesterday. The victim's car was gone, stolen. At this time, police have no idea whether Coleman is still in the area or if he's left town. But a nationwide bulletin has been put out on the vehicle he's believed to be driving.
Their terror was not limited to a particular demographic, as they preyed on the vulnerable, regardless of age or gender. Their victims ranged from young girls like 9-year-old Vernita Wheat and 7-year-old Tamika Turks, to adults like 25-year-old Donna Williams and a 77-year-old man. In their wake, they left families shattered, communities terrified, and a nation in shock.
The whereabouts of fugitive Alton Coleman and companion Debra Brown are still a mystery today. And until police think otherwise, they're assuming he remains in the Dayton-Cincinnati area. Officials here are following up on any leads they receive and warning people to be on the lookout for the two. Meanwhile, the Hamilton County Coroner's Office is trying to determine if there's a link between Coleman and the badly decomposed body of a black woman found in this abandoned apartment building in Mount Auburn last night. A woman and 2 children were spotted with Coleman and Brown in Dayton 2 weeks ago and haven't been seen since. Coleman's wanted in at least 6 murders and numerous robberies and beatings in the Midwest.
The duo's method of murder was as chilling as the crimes themselves. Strangulation became their signature, a horrifyingly personal way to end a life. Each victim was a testament to their escalating violence and disregard for human life. As they moved from state to state, their crimes grew in frequency and brutality, creating a ripple of fear across the Midwest. In Indiana, Ohio, and Illinois, the names Alton Coleman and Debra Brown became synonymous with terror. Their crimes were not limited to murder. They were also responsible for a series of kidnappings, rapes, and armed robberies. Each act was a new chapter in their reign of terror, each crime scene a testament to their escalating violence. Their victims were chosen at random, making it impossible for law enforcement to predict their next move. This unpredictability, coupled with their violent tendencies, made them a pressing threat to public safety. Their crimes showed a complete disregard for human life and the rule of law, and their ability to evade capture only added to the public's growing fear. By the time they had committed their 8th murder in July of 1984, the duo's heinous acts had not only shocked the nation, but had also put them on the FBI's most wanted list. The hunt was on, a desperate race against time to bring these ruthless killers to justice and end their reign of terror. As the net began to close, the question remained, would they be caught before they could kill again? The end of the road for Coleman and Brown was imminent as law enforcement closed in. The couple, having left a chilling trail of violence and terror behind them, had been on the run for 2 months, but their freedom was rapidly dwindling as the FBI intensified their manhunt. It was a sweltering day in July when the duo abducted 33-year-old Oline Carmichael Jr. from a Kentucky motel parking lot. They attempted to extort ransom from Carmichael's terrified wife, but in a twist of fate, they never showed up to collect. Carmichael was later found alive, locked in the trunk of his own car, abandoned in Dayton, Ohio. The couple, it seemed, was retreating back to their known territories, their comfort zone, as FBI profilers predicted. The net was closing in on Coleman and Brown. Then, on July 20th, a break in the case. A passing motorist in Evanston, Illinois recognized Coleman from his neighborhood in Waukegan, leading to the couple's arrest in Mason Park. They surrendered without incident, offering up false names in a futile attempt to avoid detection. But their fingerprints betrayed their true identities. Upon arrest, a loaded revolver was discovered in Brown's purse, while Coleman had a steak knife concealed in one of his boots. Weapons that told a chilling tale of their readiness to kill again. Their capture was a culmination of a relentless pursuit by law enforcement, a testament to the power of collective effort in the face of such horrifying brutality. The Midwest breathed a collective sigh of relief as news of the arrest spread. But the nightmare was far from over, for the scars left by Coleman and Brown's reign of terror were deep and lasting. As we delve into the trial and punishment, we'll uncover the full extent of their heinous crimes and the justice served. The end of the road for Coleman and Brown was more than just their capture. It was the beginning of a long and painful journey towards healing for the communities they had terrorized. Their arrest brought a sigh of relief to the terror-stricken Midwest, but the nightmare was far from over. The trial of Alton Coleman and Debra Brown was a highly publicized event, their crimes too gruesome to forget. The courtroom was a chilling arena where the details of their heinous acts were laid bare for all to see. The charges were numerous and severe: 8 counts of murder, 7 counts of rape, and 3 counts of kidnapping, all committed within a 2-month span. It was a trial that shook the nation, as each victim's story was painstakingly presented, one more horrifying than the next. The victims ranged from young children to the elderly, their lives brutally cut short by this deadly duo. The prosecution painted a terrifying picture, detailing each crime with precision, making it abundantly clear that the two were not only guilty, but deserving of the harshest punishment the law could provide. The defense did their best to humanize Coleman and Brown, bringing up their troubled backgrounds and presenting a narrative of 2 lost souls caught in a cycle of violence. But the jury was unmoved. The evidence was overwhelming, the crimes too horrific to comprehend. It was clear that Coleman and Brown had not only crossed the line, they had obliterated it. After a grueling trial, the verdict was finally delivered, guilty on all counts. The courtroom was silent, the weight of their crimes sinking in. The sentence: death by lethal injection for Coleman, life in prison for Brown. The judge's voice rang out in the courtroom, his words echoing the sentiments of a nation.
The application of such current must be continued until you are dead. The warden, a timely notice of appeal will be filed on your behalf. You understand those rights, sir? The court has searched for some evidence of mitigating factors that would, in some small, legitimate way, cause one to find a plausible explanation for the defendant's inexcusable conduct. The court has found none.
You've just been sentenced to death twice. Don't you have anything to say?
What was unfair about your trial? We were very concerned about getting the briefs.
What's the problem you had with those transcripts? Anything to say at all?
Clear the doorway. Clear the door.
In all my years on the bench, I have never seen such a disregard for human life. Their sentencing marked the end of a terrifying chapter, but the memories of their reign of terror still linger. The victims' families were left to pick up the pieces, their lives forever marked by the actions of two individuals whose names would forever be synonymous with evil. Coleman and Brown's story serves as a stark reminder of the depths to which humanity can sink, and the lives that can be irrevocably shattered in the process. The aftermath of Coleman and Brown's crimes left a lasting impact on the communities they terrorized. The terror they inflicted over the course of 2 months in 1984 left a deep scar that still resonates today. As we delve into the aftermath, we must acknowledge the profound loss suffered by the families of the victims. The pain, the grief, the unanswered questions. It's a burden they've carried for decades.
Before I start asking questions, I'm sure there's things on your minds that you were prepared to say, and why don't we start with those so you can kind of get those out of the way. If you have any statements or thoughts that you'd like to share with us. Do you?
Yes, well, we felt that, we was unjustified, but the thing is, Donna Williams was not accounted for, and then for it to be turned over like that and us not to seem like we have any rights. She had rights for somebody to come here and fight for her, and what my sister endured and what my baby endured is very hard for us to deal with these days of them coming to us with this kind of news at this here timing, and we have to find it out from someone else. Our attorney, that was once our attorney instead of from the prosecutor's office. And we have to stand strong with fight, not only us, but Donna Williams, which wasn't ever did for her. And now that they have did something like that at Thanksgiving, that wasn't a kind of Thanksgiving we would have liked to have had, and we wouldn't have even had that if it wasn't for our attorney, Mr. Vane, to come and tell us at a time like that. And now here it is, Christmas. It still seems like we are not going to get no justice for anybody, because I think if it wasn't never told, and we would have never found out still today. She played a big part in this I don't know what to call it or nothing, but every day we have to live with this. Every day I go down Grant Street and see that funeral home, I look at them woods out there, I think of it. It'll never leave me. I would never be able to go to a funeral, nothing there. Handle no kind of business there at that funeral home. Because it's going to bring back the thoughts and the memories of what they took my sister through and what they took from me. Her to have a sister that age, how could you do something like that? And you supposed to be, I don't know what she's supposed to be, because she made her comment for the said retarded. She made the comment afterward. Hell yeah, I did it and I'll do it again. When she, after that error was did, and not to have the death penalty for her, why is it Coleman can go, you're gonna take the devil away and leave Satan here. For her to go and get with someone else and do it, God forbid she have a baby or do something other, and later on she might get out. Like we wasn't notified now, the laws turn it over and over, so how we know maybe 10 years from now that the law won't turn over and somebody dropped the ball and let her out. And we would not be notified then. None of the victims or the families be notified of anything. You know, they will set up and put you on.
The crimes committed by this deadly duo not only took lives, but also shattered families and communities.
To jail for an animal if you murder an animal or anything, but then here it is, a human being life is not worth anything, and that was an animal fight right there. She didn't have no conscience, no mercy at all. She didn't have mercy for Vernita Wheat. She didn't have mercy for none of her victims. Donna Williams. She didn't have mercy for Marlene Walters. Nobody. And the people that we thought was behind us and had mercy for us, in the end, they seemed like they don't turn their back on us. And we thought they was fighting for us. We fought for to get them in office and different stuff, and to have them a place, and that's all we was considered as and thought about.
Mary, any thoughts?
Yes, I think they didn't care. They don't want to spend no money. They don't want to spend no time. We were just some little people out there. This woman, I guess she's got the right now. I guess she had to kill somebody to get some right.
She's a woman.
And she didn't care about my. She actually was the one killed my granddaughter, because my daughter told me, and she's been telling me the same thing for years and years. I don't know who this man is to sign that paper, but he's to me, he's just like somebody sitting up there pushing that pen and paper. He probably don't even know the case. I don't know how long he's been in office. Can you tell me how long? But I doubt he was there when this happened. He probably just come in, they skim, read the paper. Okay, I'm gonna sign. Let's get it over with. They never thought about how we hurt. I can't see my granddaughter no more. I don't see her grandchildren because Debra decided to be the judge, the lawyer. She decided to be everything. I'm gonna kill her, and that's what she did. So why has she got right? I mean, what? She got more rights than we got, to me. And this man that signed the paper, I bet you don't know nothing. He never met us. He never talked to us. There's no excuse that they could not find us. The same house that I was living in that time, same house. I'm not in the house, but the family's still in the house. So where is our right? How can you trust them anymore? We was trying hard. She was going out trying to get people to sign papers to get her back to Indiana, because we thought that was our friend. We thought Indiana was really going to be the people that helped us. Indiana did what they want to do and never even told us. And I don't think that's right.
And it shouldn't have been me put in a predicament, whereas nobody, her not to let my baby come back to me, but in a predicament where she killed her, and I wanted my brothers them to go to the cemetery with me to dig her up and bring her home, to try to have my baby with me. That was the end for me. My husband was gone. Now we up here going through something and reliving this all again. My mother with cancer. We done lost in the family, even more members of the family. And now here it is. We have to get something like this again and relive this and go all over this again. And that is just senseless.
Let's remember Tamika. What do you recall of Tamika?
My baby. Very happy to stay with me all the time wherever I went. My mother kept my older daughter.
The victims, some as young as 7, were robbed of their futures, their potential, and their innocence.
Don't too much matter now. They don't take it all away from me. When I remember the good times and I think about my baby, I also gotta look at she's no longer here with me. I can't put my arms around her. I can't go get her back. It ain't nothing I can do. But just when the good comes, the bad comes. Maybe, I don't know, but she was a happy child. Her dad had passed. I only had 2. She was one of the 2. And there was something her father had left for me when he passed. So they decided to take her away from me.
And do you remember the day when they did finally catch them? It was on the news.
Yes.
Well, what was your thoughts then? Was there any relief at all?
Not really.
Yeah.
Not really. It was, but then again, it wasn't. Because my sister was still going through things, and at the time, and I still didn't have my baby. We don't want a cover up, or for no one to come and say they sorry that they dropped the ball and they thought this or that, because we thought that it would be an execution, and it's not being one. So we want the thoughts to go out the window, and we want the knowing. We don't need the thoughts anymore. Because we thought, even though after they figured that out, that someone would not give us a call, give us a card and say, if you have any problem, you can call us. But give us a card and say, we will be calling you this time.
Right. So, any final words on this? Your feelings about how this was handled, this commutation of her sentence? Any final thoughts on that?
I don't say, put down the pencils and start putting your heart in place. Because this is something we will have to live with every day while we're here on earth. And it will never go away. Saying forgiveness, if we forgive, then still we will not forget it. Because this is something that don't seem like will never go away until she's gone away. Just as Coleman is gone away. And maybe we can find a little peace then and figure we got really justice did. But right now we don't feel we have no justice did. Even though Coleman is gone and she's still here and supposed to be a female, it's just still no justice did and served to us. And we wish that the judge, the attorney general, will give us a chance and hear our plea and our story. Debra, someone came and spoke for her and they heard hers. Will give us a chance as you.
Their families were left with a void that can never be filled, a wound that never truly heals. The loss of a child, a sister, a mother, a friend, is a tragedy beyond comprehension. But in the face of such harrowing circumstances, we also witness the resilience of the human spirit. Families and communities came together, supporting each other through the darkest of times. They remembered their loved ones not for the horrifying end they met, but for the lives they lived and the joy they brought. The law enforcement agencies involved in the case also learned invaluable lessons. The case was a grim reminder of the importance of cross-state communication and cooperation in solving crimes. It led to significant changes in how agencies share information, making it harder for criminals to evade capture by crossing state lines. It's also worth noting that this case marked one of the first times the FBI used psychological profiling to identify and apprehend criminals. This technique has since become a cornerstone of modern criminal investigations, aiding in the resolution of countless cases. The chilling tale of Alton Coleman and Debra Brown serves as a haunting reminder of the darkness that can lurk in the most unsuspecting places. Let us not forget the victims, their families, and the communities that were forever changed by these heinous acts. The story of Alton Coleman and Debra Brown is a horrifying chapter in America's crime history. For 2 chilling months in 1984, this deadly duo unleashed a wave of terror that spanned 6 states in the Midwest. Their monstrous rampage included the unthinkable: 8 murders, 7 rapes, and 3 kidnappings. Their victims were innocent, unsuspecting, and diverse, ranging from young children to a man in his late 70s. The names of Vernita Wheat, Tamika Turks, Donna Williams, Virginia, and Rachelle Temple, Tonnie Storey, Marlene Walters, and an elderly gentleman still echo in our hearts, a stark reminder of the lives brutally cut short. The methods of their vile acts were as brutal as the crimes themselves. Strangulation was their chosen instrument of terror, a method both personal and terrifying. The fear and pain their victims must have felt are beyond comprehension, a chilling testament to the depths of human depravity. But justice, though delayed, was not denied. The relentless efforts of law enforcement agencies led to their eventual capture in Evanston, Illinois. Their arrest marked the end of their reign of terror, but the start of a long and painful journey for the victims' families seeking justice. The trial that followed was as dramatic as their crimes. The evidence was overwhelming, the guilt indisputable. Both were found guilty on multiple counts and sentenced to die. Although Debra Brown's sentence was later reduced to life in prison, Alton Coleman met his end on the execution table in 2002. Their tale of terror may have ended, but the echoes of their crimes continue to haunt the annals of American crime history. The story of Alton Coleman and Debra Brown serves as a stark reminder of the darkness that can lurk in the human heart, a chilling testament to the depths of human depravity. Their names will forever be etched in the annals of crime, a grim reminder of the horror they unleashed during that terrifying summer of 1984.